Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. Got a great guest for you today. I'm going to bring her in just a moment. Really kind of an interesting story. I actually don't know much about the story, but it sounds interesting just hearing sort of like the initial sort of background of the story. So I can't wait to bring her on and get going on the interview. But as always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website. It's called ordinarymarathoner.com. Check it out if you get a chance. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher and TuneIn and iTunes. If you like the show, hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a new episode that way. Also, if you like the show, hit that review button. I don't know. We have like 10 reviews, I think. They're all pretty good. And I don't know. I think we could use more of them. It would help us out a lot. So appreciate that. You can also find the show over at YouTube now. We have just sort of audio files up on YouTube. They are getting a few views, and we're going to be putting some more content up there. I know I owe you guys a video. I don't have any editing chops yet. I'm brand new at this stuff, so please be patient with me and we'll get it up there. We're working on it. I swear, we're working on it. You can find us over at Twitter at Ord Marathoner. That's O-R-D Marathoner. If you follow me there, I'll follow you back. We can get the conversation going on over there. Or you can hit our Facebook group, which is called Ordinary Marathoners. And it's a closed group, so you got to add yourself to it. We will approve you right away. You can join the conversation over there. We have a really great group of people, a lot of supportive people over there, and really just a whole bunch of runners that, I don't know, the group has kind of grown organically. We're over 600 people. And I don't know. I like it. I like what we got going on so far. So, all right. And I'm going to bring in the guest right now. I'm not going to give you too much background on her because we'll talk about it when we bring her in. April Tedrow, welcome to the show, April.
Hi.
All right, April. So I'm going to tell you what I know about you, and I know I just told you that, which means we're going to need to kind of go into it and learn some more here. This is what I know is that you've lost 100 pounds. And 2 weeks ago, you ran a 100-mile race.
Yes.
So there's a story here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's more to the story here. So let's start all the way back at when you lost 100 pounds. Because I feel like that's, I think we get a lot of listeners here that, the weight loss story is like such a prevalent one in this sport, in the sport of running. And you hear it all the time. And it seems like, you've traveled further than most. Having lost 100 pounds and now run a 100-mile race. Now, I get a lot of people that say, I ran a marathon, lost weight, ran a marathon, but lost weight, ran 100 miles. That sounds like a long trek. How did this journey start for you?
So in August of 2015, I finally made the decision to go in to have a breast reduction. I had a lot of back pain. So I went in, I had the breast reduction, and that's changed my life. 2 weeks after the surgery, I went out and to go for a walk, and I walked a mile, got back to my house, and I thought, oh my goodness, I don't have any back pain. So I actually turned around and I walked another mile, and I can honestly say I'd never walked 2 miles at
Really?
one time like that, So anyway, from then on, the whole month of September in 2015, I just continued to walk every day, and I started following the Weight Watchers program. So I changed the way I was eating. Weight started coming off. I joined a gym for the first time in my life in November of 2015. In February of 2016, the weight was still coming off, and I signed up for a half marathon. And
had you run any races before then?
Well, in November, I did a 4-mile race in my hometown.
Yep.
And they had a 4-mile race on Thanksgiving Day, so I ran that. And I thought, wow, I couldn't believe I just ran 4 miles. And because I was never a runner. As a child, teenager, that was just not a sport that I was into.
Right.
So anyway, I ran the half marathon, and never in my life thought I'd be running 13.1 miles. So the next month, actually in March, I signed up for a marathon. So I ran a marathon.
Wow. You didn't waste any time.
No, I did not. And so after the marathon, I was in a lot of pain. And somebody said, "Are you going to ever run another one?" And I said, "No." But, the next month, I signed up for a 50K.
What?
So I ran a 50K. The following month, the very next month, I ran a 50-mile trail race.
Wow.
And it just went on. I just kept running marathons after that. So I ran several marathons. And then I wanted to run 100. So I found the Keys 100 and signed up for it. And everybody said, "You haven't trained for this." The most I'd ever ran was 54 miles. And that was only because on my 50-mile trail run, I got lost. So I actually ran 54 miles. So, but this was just something that I had to prove to myself that I could do.
Right.
And it was painful, but I finished.
So it seems like you had like a really quick ramp up period to 50 miles. But was there like sort of a gap there between your 50 mile and the 100 mile? So since 2016 is when I ran the first 50 mile. I've actually only ran 3 50-mile races, and then, like I said, several marathons. Several marathons since then, and then just the 100-mile. Right. So which? So are you from Florida? The Keys. I'm thinking Keys 100. Is that a Florida race?
Yes, but I'm actually from Indiana, and I just moved to Florida in March.
Okay.
So I've been in Indiana my whole life. So I moved to Florida, and I was looking for a 100-mile race, and I found that one. I signed up, and people were like, "You're crazy." They said, "You're not used to running in Florida weather, let alone running on the Keys." But I did it.
And was it a hot day? Was it like an impressively hot day?
Saturday wasn't bad. Saturday wasn't bad. We did have some storms during the race, but then Sunday was very hot, very, very hot on Sunday.
And it's I don't know. For me, I still try to wrap my head around hearing people when you say, "Did you run the race? Was it hot that day?" And then you come back and you tell me about 2 days, because these races.
Yeah.
Man, this is an incredible story. So I guess let's rewind back to sort of your initial. So you did your initial half, and when you finished that first half marathon, was there pain involved? Was it something that, or when you finished, did you just feel like, wow, that was really cool, and I got to do more?
Yeah. I was very emotional. I was emotional. I was crying. I thought I just ran 13.1 miles. No, the pain wasn't bad. Didn't really have much pain from that, but I was just emotional because that is just something I never ever thought I'd be doing.
Right, and that's only like 6 months or so after you didn't even know that you could walk a mile, and then you did 2 miles, and then it's such a like that whole ladder effect for everybody is so, I don't know, you hear it, you hear a lot up to the marathon portion, but for you to go up to 100 miles is, I haven't taken that step yet personally. So I'm similar timing to you in terms of, I started in 2013, like late 2013, and I ran my first marathon like a year later. And then I've never really gone beyond. I did the Ironman, but which we should talk about. If you have you ever thought about doing triathlons?
I had somebody tell me, they said the weight loss is one thing, that's great. They said running, 100 miles, that's wonderful. But they said, if you want to take it to the next level, they said an Ironman. So I have already signed up for an Ironman.
Wow. Which one?
In October, I'm doing Louisville, Kentucky.
Very nice. Ironman. Very nice. So, are you excited? Or are you nervous?
The swim makes me very nervous.
Uh-huh.
I'm struggling a bit with the swim.
Have you gone into open water, or are you just in the pool for now?
I'm only in the pool so far.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I could see it. You're like you're tiny bit nervous about it, but you know what? This is like, I think, and it goes with the running too, but it's like you're in uncharted territory, and there's something that feels like courageous and brave and just wonderful. It's like that feeling of I've never done anything like this before. Yeah. And, you feel like you have to do it, and it kind of like grabs you and sort of takes over your life, I bet, too. Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about the swim. I'm a little bit all over the place. We're jumping around all over the place here, but I want to talk about the swim. Because I'll tell you what, because I feel like you have crushed me in the running. I'm still like my farthest running I've ever done was a marathon, and people have heard the show. They know, like, I did Fort Lauderdale Marathon one year, and we ran a quarter mile, and there was a train that crossed the street, and so they did a restart. So I ran 26.4 miles that day, so I call it the Fort Lauderdale Ultra Marathon, which, I mean, technically, right? I mean, it's more than a marathon, so I think it counts. So that's the longest I ever ran in a day. So you got me beat there. But if I have anything for you, it's going to be with the Ironman, because I finished 2 last year, and I think I had the same mindset as you, which was I felt like the swim was going to be the most difficult and the bike was going to be the easiest. And I felt like the run would be in the middle. I've always done the running, but running is never simple for me anyway. So, I just felt like I power through the running. And when I actually got to the race, it was the exact opposite. The swimming I was actually strong in, and the bike was by far my hardest, and still is.
Really?
Yeah, it's just, it's and I don't know how the hill situation is in Louisville, but I did Lake Placid, and the hills were really bad. I did Maryland, and the wind was really bad. So if there's no hills, you're okay as long as there's no wind. And I don't know how Louisville is, but you're on the bike for so long.
Right.
And I mean, you'll kind of understand that with the running, but you're just on the bike for so long. And in terms of the swim, I mean, the only thing I'll say is you have to get in the open water. Okay. And Jen Bergstrom, I don't know if you talked to her, if she just kind of knew you and said, but she's the one that dragged me out to get in the open water. And wow, it's just that first, because if you don't go in the open water and you just kind of show up on race day, it's just different. Yeah. It's just way different. So if you have a couple of experiences with that open water, getting the wetsuit on, getting used to it, that's just my only advice, is just, practice it before you get there. It means a world of difference. That's, I don't know. And then even when you're there, make sure you get in the water a little bit before the race to get the wetsuit all. You're going to be fine by race day. I could tell you're like an addict to training. You're going to be all ready.
Okay. Thank you. I hope so.
So how many times have you gone to the pool so far? Is this something brand new, or is this?
I started training for it with my coach in November, actually. So. Okay,
so you've been in the water a bunch. You're just trying to. You're still kind of a little nervous about it.
I hate it. It's hard. It's hard.
So like I imagine, if you had trouble walking a mile before that, you probably didn't do a lot of swimming either back then. Right. So maybe it's a little bit newer to you than it was for me. But you keep at it. You'll get used to it. Especially you have a coach, you said.
Yes.
So yeah, you're gonna, you'll improve pretty quickly. And then when you get out, I think once you kind of get out in that open water, you'll get sort of an honest assessment about where you are with it, and you'll be able to figure out how comfortable you can be. But it's one of those things where you're in the water for so long, so it could be like an hour and a half, could be an hour 45, whatever it is. You're in the water that you get the mind games that play with you. It being in the water for that long is a little taxing, but. Yeah, you'll get used to it as you practice, just like anything else.
Yep.
So are you, is the Ironman's, obviously not something that you never thought you would do, but was it like, when you decided to do it, did you grab onto it? Like, is it like your focus, is it your focus now? Is it like everything, you're like, wow, I'm going to do that? Like, how do you feel about it?
The Ironman?
Yeah.
I'd rather just continue to run 100-mile races. But I just feel like, and this may be the only one I do. Just, I don't know. I'm just not for sure how if I'm going to like it as much as just running.
Yeah.
It's different, so.
Definitely.
I mean, I told people, I said, I'm not nervous about the bike or the run. And they said, when you get off riding a bike for 112 miles, they said that run is going to be completely different, you know?
Oh, it is. It'll be something different for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm nervous about it. I mean, but my focus is running more hundreds. I want to continue to do that. So.
And you'll be able to once you do it, I think you'll probably be able to make a good assessment as to what you want to do. I found for me, that the running is fun. I loved it, but then all of a sudden I started doing the triathlon, and it was like a little bit more, what's the word? Like, a little more variety, I guess. So it wasn't always like workout, run. It was, on a weekend I would do a run on Saturday and a bike on Sunday, which I have to do this weekend too, which gave you some variety, which for me was good. I think, I still weigh over 200 pounds, and I'm like pounding the pavement with running, and I always feel like it could potentially be like an injury thing for me. So it's nice to do the swimming and the bike, just to throw in some variety.
Yeah.
So, and it's something that maybe you fall in love with, and maybe you don't, and you just go back to running.
Yeah.
So let me, let's take the break here. And we're about 15 minutes in, and I want to talk more about your 100-mile race and kind of get into how all that went down, how you prepared for it, and the day itself and how it went. Sound good?
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back with April Tedrow. We'll be right back. Hey guys, my friend Lauren is creating an incredible resource for runners and triathletes. It's called raceadvisors.com. She has amassed a list of thousands of races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, marathons, ultramarathons, and triathlons, and anything in between. If you're thinking about running a race, look it up and check out the reviews. Have a favorite race of your own? Look it up. See what others have to say about it. Or better yet, leave a review of your own. raceadvisors.com. Read it, race it, review it. I may not have a lot of hair, but I tell you, I know style when I see it. And I know you guys and gals with the flowing locks, you need something functional to keep that hair out of your face when you go on your daily run. And I have just the thing for you. It's called Greasy Girl Headbands. And I know what it sounds like, but it's not spelled that way. It's GREECIE, girlheadbands.com. They make headbands that are specially designed for the runner to keep that hair out of your face, out of your eyes when you're out there on your daily run. So check them out. GreasyGirlHeadbands.com, GREECIE, and find a design that's perfect for you. All right, we're back with April Tedrow. So on the break here, April, you mentioned that you've also done some obstacle course racing, and we talked about sort of the Spartan races and things like that. We were talking about variety of workouts. What how'd you get into that?
Oh my gosh, I honestly don't remember.
I stumped you.
I think somebody was watching on TV. It was they have that on TV, that show, Spartan Races on TV. And somebody asked me if I'd ever watched it. And I said no. Well, then I ended up Googling it, and I thought that's what it was. So after I Googled it, I thought, oh, that looks fun. I signed up for one, and yeah.
That's I'm starting to learn a little bit about you now. It's like you hear about these things and you're like, well, wait, I got to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
You're in like that good mode right now. It's like, I got to do that. So how many have you just really stuck to the Spartan races, or have you done like, what is it, like the mud runs or any of that? Like, is it all?
I did. Most of them are the Spartan races, but I did it's called a mud stash, which is kind of a generic obstacle course, from the Spartan races. But you're still, going through the mud, and the obstacles just aren't quite as difficult. But I actually did that in the competitive division, and I won. I was the first female.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to run some Spartan races this year in the competitive division. So we'll see what happens.
So let's you know what? I was going to go into your 100-mile race, but let's take a step back quickly, because I want to. Now, you mentioned you've done a bunch of marathons.
Yes.
Can you name them, or is it too many to count, or is it?
I can name a few. So I did the Route 66 in Oklahoma.
I've heard of that.
Yes, that was a fun one. Myrtle Beach Marathon. That was actually my first marathon.
Yeah. How'd you pick that one?
just I love South Carolina.
Yep.
And after I ran the half was in Sarasota, Florida. So then I was just Googling marathons, and the Myrtle Beach one popped up, and I thought, oh, Myrtle Beach. I love Myrtle Beach. So
that was it, huh? From Indiana, you traveled all the way up to Myrtle Beach. That's good.
Yeah.
And did you more now? Are you competitive in the marathons that you do, or is...
No? Right now, I'm just finishing.
Yeah.
So I need to work on my speed, but.
Yeah, I'm not being critical. I just, because you won the other race, I was like, wow. Yeah. I just was wondering if this is like. Sometimes I want like, for someone to usually when you get the weight loss story, you don't get the person that goes from from losing weight to being like really competitive. So for you to win a race it's incredible. I mean, I'm like 5 hour marathon guy. I've never even broke through 5 hour marathon, and I'm like, I'm not even close to competing in any of this stuff. I compete with myself basically, but for you to win your age group, I think that's incredible. And so when you're doing these, how'd you do with the spear? Because everyone complains about the spear.
I've never made it. Yep.
Everyone complains about the spear.
Everybody says it's so easy. No, I miss it every time.
So you must be doing a lot of burpees then. Right, that's the penalty?
Yeah. Yes, 30 burpees.
30? Oh, no thanks. I'd just go, send me home. Send me home. All right. So I know I got 2 of those marathons down. I'm sure you did more.
Yes.
Do you want to list more of them, or you you're good. All right, so let me ask you this. Let's go back to this 100-mile race.
Yes.
You don't have to list all the marathons. We'll talk about this 100-mile race, because it seems like, when did you register? When did you decide? And are you the kind of person? See, like I feel like you're this kind of person too, where you kind of get the idea in your head. I want to run 100 miles. Then you Google a race, and you sign up for it, and then you got to do it. Because that's what I do.
Yes.
So when did you register? How long ago did you register for this race? It
was about a month before the race. 3 or 4 weeks before the race.
Oh, wow.
I was just I just wanted to run I was actually supposed to run one in November.
Uh-huh.
But actually, when I went all crazy and started running, the half, the full 50K, 50 miler, then I found out last October I had a stress fracture.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So the doctor said, you cannot run 100 miles next month. So
6 to 8 weeks probably, right?
Yeah. And that crushed me. That was hard. And so anyway, so when I couldn't run November, and then started back up running actually in February, and because I actually did run the Route 66 marathon was actually in November as well as 100, and I had signed up for both of them.
Right.
And it was my daughter's first marathon actually. So the doctor told me, he said, if you want to try to run the marathon, that's fine, but he said you cannot do the 100. So I actually did run on the stress fracture. I ran with my daughter, and I finished the marathon in November. So then after that is when I started my recovery for the stress fracture.
Yeah.
So I didn't run it until February.
Right. And
then I moved to Florida in March, and that's and then a month later is when I started, because I thought I'm ready now for 100.
So the difference from going from a 50 miler, now I don't know, I think of a 50 miler, I'm like, yeah, that would probably take a good part of the day for me. But maybe if I started early in the morning, I would do it all in the light. So I don't know if most of your 50 milers have been in daylight, but when you start talking about 100, then you're out in the darkness for sure.
Yes.
Was that part of your training, or part of your, the sort of I guess the new thing that you were up against, like your new challenge when you jumped from 50 to 100 miles?
I knew I was going to be running all night,
mm-hmm.
and I knew that was going to be difficult because, well, for one thing, I don't stay up late.
Right. Sleep deprivation.
I knew I was going to be tired. So, I started out strong on Saturday. I was way ahead of the pace, the cutoff times and everything. But once about 10 o'clock that night, because I started at 6:45 Saturday morning.
Yeah.
10 o'clock Saturday night is when I started struggling. It was dark. were on the shoulder of the road, and I was tired. It got really hot that night. That's when it started getting really hot. Was throughout the night. The humidity got really bad. And I started struggling.
And so what mile were you on around then?
Mile 60 is when I started
hitting the wall.
Yeah.
And you had 40 miles to go. What were you thinking at that point? Were you thinking that you made a big mistake? Or
No, I just kept telling myself I have to finish.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to quit. But I thought, wow, this is really painful.
Yeah. Now, do you do like a run walk strategy kind of, or do you? I mean, I know for most of the 100s, it seems like most people actually do. They sort of plan a run walk strategy. Is that part of it, or?
I was having to walk throughout the night. I mean, I'd start walking, and then I would try to start running again, and I just couldn't get my feet to pick up and go. So I walked a lot throughout the night, but I mean, all night long I kept going. So. And
how long did it take you to finish the whole 100?
31 hours and 19 minutes.
Okay. I mean, you did 100 miles, April. Yes. I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You say the time like you're frustrated with it.
Yeah. Well,
are you doing another one? Is this it? Are you looking to improve on that?
No, I'm definitely going to do another one. I'd love to do another one in July, but I don't want to get injured again. So I need to make sure that I don't overdo it. That's a lot on the body to, recover. So, and of course I've got the Ironman in October. So I want to make sure, I'm not injured for that. So, but yeah.
It's, so the next challenge, what's the next challenge? Is it the 100? Is it
it'll probably the Ironman is going to be my next.
Yeah, the next big one.
Yeah. But,
okay.
I definitely want to do another 100. I want to try to get under 30.
Yeah.
My goal for this one was 27, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's so hard to guess, right? I mean, I did the same thing for Ironman. I had no idea, because you're in such uncharted territory, right? So let me ask you this: what was your longest training run before you did the 100 miles?
It was the 54-mile run.
Right. So once you hit that 50, and it's kind of neat because I haven't been there for so long, and actually this is like sort of motivating me a little bit and starting to get the wheels turning a little bit in my head. Because it was so cool when I did that whole, every runner goes through that same period of time, and you went through it when you do the 1 mile to the 2 mile to the 4 mile to the half marathon to the full. And all those times that you're doing something new, you're getting into that uncharted territory. And once you cross that point where you've never done it before, it's like a magical kind of like place that you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree?
Yes.
And so when you say you want to do 27 hours, you really didn't know.
Yeah.
It was a goal, but you didn't know.
Yeah.
And now you kind of know.
Yeah. The thing is, at 50 miles, I was actually on pace for 26 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
At 50 miles. And so I was all excited thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it in under 27. But I slowed down so much during the night.
Right.
It was just, that I lost all that time.
So is there a plan now to, how do you attack that training wise, where you think, all right, so this is what happened. This is what went wrong last time. How can I be better prepared for next time? How would you, do you have any strategies for training and going at it differently? Or are you just going to continue to do what you're doing?
I don't know what I could do differently. I mean, I think you're going to feel pain regardless when you're running 100 miles. So
I would guess.
I guess I'll just go out there and just run, and
see how it goes.
Hopefully I don't slow down as much during the night.
and so, well, and you're only going to know when you get there, I guess, right? But right. So let me ask you this: what is your I probably should ask you this before, but what is your sort of weekly training schedule? Is it long runs on weekends and then kind of just fill in during the week? I mean, how much do you go at it during the week?
It's funny because honestly, during the week, I don't run that much just because of my work schedule. On the weekends, I typically just run 10 to 12 miles. It's hard for me to get out on my own. And that's what people think, that's why so many people say, you don't train for this stuff. You don't train. But it's hard to get out by myself and make myself run long distance. But when I sign up for a race, I just do it, But I'm in the gym every day. 7 days a week I go to the gym. Yeah. So I I work out. I do a lot of endurance training. Right. But as far as going out and running 20 miles, I've never done that without being in a race.
Interesting. So no 20 milers for you. That's, see, I was sort of corrupted, I think, when I was in high school. We had this track coach, and I remember saying, I want to run faster. And she goes, oh, if you want to learn how to run fast, you have to practice running fast. And that was her thing. So she a lot of sprints. And if you want to learn how to run distance, you have to run distance. So I always take that mentality. And I don't know, for all I know, that was back in the 80s and 90s when, we didn't have the internet, and, I don't know who knew what about training. This, for all I know, she, she's just speaking off the top of her head, making this stuff up. But so I always feel like when I'm in marathon training that I have to get that 20-mile run in, and I have to, I have to like really try to get that distance up just to make me feel comfortable. Did you have any doubts in your mind when you started that day that you might not make the 100? It sounds like you didn't.
No, because
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I was nervous, but I just told myself, all I can do is run. What else can I do? People just kept saying one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do. And of course, what's funny is I'm making posts on Facebook throughout this all my races. I have my phone on me, and I'm taking selfies. and I'm posting, but it's because all this is so new to me, and I want to have those memories. Right. I'm doing all this stuff that I never thought I would be doing. So, people told me, they said, you probably could have finished 4 hours quicker if you would have stayed off Facebook. I made a lot of posts. I even made videos.
I'm gonna have to go back and check this out. By the way, so like your Facebook page, is it? Do you have an actual page, or is it just your own personal page?
It's just my own personal Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had people. So as I'm writing posts, I'm showing pictures of the pain that I'm in because, like I said, I cried for 40 miles. I did really cry for 40 miles, and so
it's got to be a hydration issue with that. By the way, it's probably not a good idea.
People started posting, they said there's people from New Mexico that was watching me. There's people from North Carolina. There is people from Scotland. And everybody is backing me up. They're telling me I can do, because I really been at 80 miles, I said, how do I run another 20? I wasn't going to quit, but I thought, oh my gosh, I have another 20 miles to go.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was starting to really mess with me mentally.
Especially without sleep and all that, you know, and
but people just kept, they just kept telling me I could do it. And, and that's what motivates me. Yeah. So many people, commenting and just telling me I can do this. And I thought, it would just make me smile. Even though I'm crying, I'd get a smile on my face. And I thought, oh my gosh, all these people really think I can do this. So I have to do this.
You know what's great is so we talk a lot about motivation on the show, and I feel like I love the positive energy like you're talking about, and you can feed off of that the way you did. Now, do you ever get a taste of the other side where people tell you can't do it? And does that fuel you at all? Has anyone ever said, why are you doing this? You can't do it. You're being silly. This is stupid. Don't, cut it out. Does any of that does that motivate you? Or is that something that, A, has it ever happened to you? And B, is that something that you just kind of throw away and forget about? Or is that something that fuels you to go further?
That has happened to me. And that makes me mad when it happens. And that does push me. So I'm like, go ahead, say whatever you want to say, because it just makes me push even harder. Yeah. I had people tell me, they said, you have not trained to run 100 miles. And I said, I'm going to do it though, and I did, it's just, that just, makes me mad. Even when I signed up for the marathon, my daughter said, "You've only ran a half." I'd never ran over 13.1. And they say, you're supposed to run up to 20 miles before you sign up for, before you run a marathon. I'd ran the half marathon. That's the most I'd ever ran. Signed up for the marathon. I finished, and so, but, she told me, she said, "You haven't trained. You can't run a marathon." I said, "Watch me." It's just, it just kind of lights a fire. And,
and sometimes they don't even mean it, like your daughter might not even meant it to be like a negative thing, but she might have been concerned. But
a lot of people were telling me, they said, "You're not used to the Florida weather." I mean, I've lived in Indiana my whole life. So they said, and now you signed up for a 100-miler in Florida. They said, you're not used to it. And I said, "So it's hot. What's the big deal?" But, so.
And you finished, and let's take. So now we got kind of. I guess we jumped around a bit, and that's my fault. As a host, I should be like more together here. But so you're 20 miles away from the finish, and obviously you made it. So you made it through that 20 miles of which must have been really mentally taxing. And when you got to that finish line, or when you saw it in sight, or when you kind of knew you were getting, when was that moment where you knew that you were like, "Oh, I got this. There it is. Like, I have it." When did you know? I
don't think I ever thought that. Because the last 5 miles, people kept saying, having strangers come up, from that were walking on the street and stuff, and they're saying, "You're almost there. You're almost there." And I'm crying, and I'm saying, "Where's the finish line?" I mean, that's all I wanted to see, the finish line. And they said, "You're going to go right up there and turn, and you're going to see it." People kept telling me, I'm almost there. And I thought, stop saying that, because I'm not almost there. But anyway, so finally, when I made the turn, and then I actually had to make another turn. So, and then someone that was one of the pacers that was running with me off and on, she was running beside me, and I actually had towels on me because I was so hot. And she was like, "Give me your towels." She said, "You're not crossing the finish line with the towels over you." I had it on my head. I had it on my chest. And
yeah, you gotta look good for those finisher pictures.
It was so hot, but so she took the towels away, and I saw the finish line, and I was running, but it wasn't fast. I mean, I was just exhausted at that time. Came across the finish line, they took me right to medical because they thought I was going to pass out, but I was just tired. They wanted me to eat and drink, but I was so tired. Like, I closed my eye. I started dozing off. And they were taking a few pictures of me, but I wasn't even thinking about pictures at that time. And which now I look back and I'm like, "Oh, why didn't I get pictures I took pictures all through the race." Right. Then at the finish line, now I was so tired. And
so I mean, you said that when you finished your first half that you were all teary-eyed crying. It sounded like those were good tears, like tears of accomplishment. It sounds like this time after 100 you just want to take a nap.
I did. I mean, they put me down in a chair, and I closed my eyes, and I was dozing off.
So did it not hit you? Like that what you did? Like you were just like a nap?
I don't think it did right away, because I was so tired. I mean, that's all. They kept coming to me saying, "We need you to eat. We need you to drink." And I said, "Please let me go to sleep." I mean, I was begging the medics to just let me go to sleep. But, yeah.
So when did you feel? Did you ever get that sense of accomplishment like that? Like, did it come later, or did it come? Are you still? I mean, it's only 2 weeks after, so you're still you're probably still reveling in it a little bit.
I am. So that they put me in the car, and then we had to drive, because we started in Key Largo and ran to Key West. So we had to make that drive back to Key Largo, and that's where I was staying for the night. And so we I got right in the car, and I mean, I went to sleep. I mean, they put me in the back seat, and I went to sleep. I slept the whole, almost 2-hour drive back, and slept the entire way, and got out and went in, but I didn't even eat. I mean, I was really hungry, but I was so tired.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go to sleep. So, I mean, I showered, and then I went to sleep. Got up, woke up the next morning, and I thought I ran 100 miles. And so that's really when it hit me.
Right.
I just needed sleep. I was tired.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, it's funny because so it sounds like we look back at your career since you started and your racing career. Was it that half marathon where you felt more? Was that like the height of your accomplishment feeling? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like almost like that was the moment that you sort of proved to yourself that you can do this and this is like an incredible thing. I had that moment for myself, the first marathon I ran, which was New York City Marathon. I'll never forget that moment. And yet, subsequent events that I've done that, like the Ironman, that were longer, even though I felt great,
Yeah.
I didn't feel that great, as great as I did that day. Do you find the same thing, or are you still getting that great feeling of accomplishment that you got the first time you did a half?
I think when I ran my first marathon, I mean, I bawled my eyes out after the marathon. I mean, I cried after the half, but after the marathon,
it was even more.
Yeah, it was more emotional because I thought I just ran a marathon. I mean, 26.2 miles, but I really didn't cry after my 50K, my 50 miler. I cried. I don't know. It's just different, I guess, with different races but yeah, so I just want to keep pushing myself. And everybody said there's nothing more you can do besides an Ironman. So,
you can find some crazy people out there. Let me tell you, we had a guy on, who did the Tahoe 200, which was a 200-mile race. There's other things around. We had a guy on, Frank Fumick, who did, this guy's insane. He's done a 10 times Ironman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which took him multiple days, and now he's actually training for a bike ride across America, which he tried to do a couple years ago, and didn't. He made it really far, but didn't quite finish. So now he's going back for revenge to try to finish it.
And that's stuff that I want to do. Like, I want to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I love that.
This is all new to me, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I just sign up for these races and I run. but
we actually have a lot in common. Like I've done, I always kid around. Like my exit line, you'll hear it soon, is I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary, which is why I do the podcast. But like literally, but I haven't made that leap yet. Like you just go after it. Like I haven't really made that leap to 50 miles, 100 miles. I've never finished a marathon and felt like, I'm comfortable doing this. I should do more. Now I've done a half and felt comfortable, but I've never done. Every time I do a marathon, it's painful, and I'm like, I'm good here. And I meet people like you and people like Frank and people like Ramon who did the 200, and I'm like, man, there's so much more out there.
See, I didn't even know there were 200s, so I will probably be Googling that as soon as I get off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to apologize to your daughter for putting this idea in Mom's head. But I think what you've done is amazing. You've done in a very short period of time. So congratulations to you. Do you have any words of wisdom for now? And this is kind of putting you on the spot, so if you don't really, if you don't have an answer for this, that's fine. There's got to be a person out there who maybe was in your situation from 5 years ago or whatever it was when you started. What would your advice be to someone who's sort of thinking about taking those first few steps like you did and going out for that first walk? Looking at how far you've come, what would you tell that person who's like, look at you, you've done so much. How could I do something like that? What would you say to that person?
That they can do it. Really, it's you have to put your mind to it, and that's what I did. I just I was having a difficult time during my in my life during my weight loss, but I just stayed focused. I told myself I'm going to do this, and then I started running the races, and it has just changed my life. And I was 250 pounds.
Yeah.
So if I can do this, yeah, anybody can do it. They just have to want it,
Yeah. It's such a key point. Because, it's like people make excuses all the time. I don't have time and all that. And then when you kind of make that decision, you hit that point where you change your life. All of a sudden you're like, I had the time. I just needed to make it for myself. I'm at the gym usually at midnight, and I have to go to work at 6 a.m. That's the time I can get there most of the time. So I'm like, because I'm not going to miss a workout. If I want to stay in shape, that's when I have to go. Yeah,
so
that's amazing. I'm so happy you came on the show. Your story is incredible. Man, you've come a long way. You should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And we got I'm going to keep an eye on you for the Ironman. If you have any questions not that I'm an expert, but sometimes coaches, they just think like, you'll get better, but they don't, because they know it all and they've been through it. But I was a newbie too, so if anything I can help with, by all means. And I'll be watching you in Louisville. We'll be following you, and I'm sure you're gonna crush it. Though this is just one other notch in the belt. I tell you what, crossing that finish line at Ironman, hearing them call your name, it's an experience. You're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah. I can't wait.
And I wish you best of luck. Thank you for coming on the show, April Tedrow.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And then we're going to wrap it up right there. I don't have a guest set up for next week. We'll figure that out, though. I've been doing this on the fly now for a while now. So we'll figure out a good guest. But, man, what a great story that was. I don't know. I feel like I got to go to the gym now. I feel like I got to go Google a 50-mile run, 50-mile race and see what I should sign up for next. Anyway, so we'll see you next week. And as always, just remember, when it comes to running, I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary.